Last episode, we met Ohio State Innovator of the Year, Sanjay Krishna. What I didn't mention during that episode is that two other Buckeye engineers also earned Innovator of the Year honors last April. Recent aerospace engineering graduate and current nuclear engineering PhD student Ian Harris is the reigning Ohio State Next Generation Innovator of the Year. Somehow, while completing a rigorous triple major degree, he found time to launch a company with his brother. Ian, thanks for joining me on Ingenuity.
Thank you, Dean Howard, for having me.
So let's first talk about your company, SPAERO Systems. Give us a little bit of insights into the background, the feedback, and even the decision to launch it as a student.
Yeah, absolutely. So SPAERO Systems is a R&D company currently working on sustainable technology for both space and Earth. Now, our first product is a modular device that we've nicknamed Swan, and it runs off of just battery power and surrounding air to create plasma that can be used to clean multiple types of surfaces. So you could clean essentially just around the house, you could clean food, and we're even looking into treatment for actual wounds in the medical industry. So we're especially excited about this type of device because it essentially separates the need for resupply. So if you're in remote areas, such as in space or in the wilderness, this would be a perfect device because you don't have that dependency on other gases and cleaning methods to treat a wound or treat food. So now let's see, we started Sparrow Systems in 2024 after competing in the Keating Center for Entrepreneurship's Boss Space Ventures program. Phenomenal program. They, taught us about market validation, taught us how to, build your business plan, all of the classic needs that you need to essentially start your company. And that was kind of our initial ideation of seeing this is actually a value to people, both in the medical industry as well as in space. And that was kind of our moment to see, okay, yeah, we need to bring this to market. And it's just been running ever since.
No, that's wonderful. And especially when you think about, having a product from probably a concept or idea, joining Keenan and then creating an MVP or something that people can feel and touch. I think that's wonderful in fact, in 2024. So in less than 2 years.
Yeah, it's been moving fast.
So, what's up for the next year? Can you share some insights or, unless it's secret, but just something that we can give our audience some
Yeah.
juicy stuff?
No, it's not top secret. No, we actually just finished filing our non-provisional patents. We're very excited about that because that was a big, long journey for the past year. Coming up, we're looking to do microbial testing so we can actually quantify the effectiveness of our device, and that will lead us to EPA regulations. So then we can actually get into the food industry. We can actually get into home cleaning. So we're pretty excited to keep working on the prototype, building it out further, and just getting out on the market.
Let's go to thinking as an entrepreneur. So, a lot of times it's helpful when up and coming entrepreneurs or current entrepreneurs hear about the lessons learned from others. And so for all of our entrepreneurs in training and entrepreneurs that want to be, tell us about the trials and tribulations during these first couple of years.
How much time do you have? No, I'm just kidding. It's been great. I'd have to say the biggest lesson that I've learned so far is to not overthink ideas and to move with purpose. It's very easy to get stuck in your head and to just become stagnant, rather than focusing on what is the minimum viable product that I need so that I can take this, get user feedback, and then keep iterating. So that was one of the biggest pieces that I've been learning the past couple of years. And I'd say the second biggest piece of advice is to just enjoy every second of it, even the highs and the lows, because it's such a valuable experience to learn from, but especially to be able to create something new that can positively impact people's lives. I feel like that's an exciting thing to be a part of. So just try to soak in every moment that you can.
So I love the fact of this thinking about the user, the feedback, and iterating, which of course is the engineering mindset. And
Exactly.
so you are an engineer, although you are also a triple major. So let's think about this and talk a little bit about you being a triple major when you launched Sparrow, and now you're in the thick of a nuclear engineering PhD program. I'm assuming you do sleep.
I
because
do.
you
I
have
do.
to. Okay, good, good. So just want to make sure because we don't want the entrepreneurs thinking you don't need to sleep. Um, so I think we all might benefit from hearing then about your time management strategies. I'm asking for a friend.
Well, I'd say I'm a very strong believer in lists. Each week, I'll make a list of, okay, what needs to get done so I can try to prioritize, what to put first on the agenda and just stay up to date. But I also found it helps that I really enjoy what I do. So that helps me keep driving forward. That helped me through undergrad, starting the companies during undergrad and even through grad school. It's just, it's exciting to work on something that can help people's lives. So that's really what gets me up in the morning, keeps me going.
So let me ask about the list. Do you do a prioritization on the list? Like these are things that are easy, I can knock them out really quickly, or more important, impactful, or is it just as you think about it, it's just line item them as you consider them?
Yeah, so I tend to just kind of use Apple's reminders app very, very heavily. Just kind of organized it out. So I have my SPAERO list. I have my other companies list that I started recently this January, one for school and just kind of random tasks just as they pop up. I mainly go off of deadlines, just what's creeping up first.
So this is nice, and you snuck in another company. So thinking about this, I know for a fact that more and more Ohio State students are thinking about entrepreneurship and starting their own companies. I think some of them are not yet on number one. You're now on number two plus. So as you think about your journey and kind of advice to other Ohio State students,
Mhm.
why do you think? Why were you motivated, and why do you think other students are motivated in terms of thinking about new businesses or entrepreneurship?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I was particularly motivated because I saw a problem and I saw with my prior experience, I could leverage that to create a solution that could actually make an impact. So that was kind of my drive. But I find it interesting nowadays with the emergence of all these tools and resources for entrepreneurship where you can create companies and you can release products within weeks rather than months to years. So it's really impressive. But just having the resources to kind of learn from and see how other people are building their companies. Like I found YouTube videos with Starter Story, for example, just to learn about how people are creating their kind of micro software as a service type companies. Like it's inspiring because then you can see kind of picture yourself in other people's shoes of, wait, I could also do that too. So I feel like that's a big motivator for students nowadays because they're just very creative and it's just finding that way to actually create your business and make it a reality.
So you mentioned tools and resources. So what else would you say Ohio State can do to assist, help encourage, and thinking about the future Ian Harrises of the world, what is it that we can do here to really create an ecosystem and support for that?
Well, I think Ohio State is already doing a great job with that, with centers such as the Keenan Center for Entrepreneurship and the Center for Software Innovation. Those are both phenomenal resources to give students hands-on experience to actually build a company from their idea. Now, another idea that Ohio State could potentially help with is integrating more entrepreneurship classes, potentially with the general education, especially for engineering. Because after working with the Keenan Center for the past 2 years, it's completely changed the way I think about engineering to this day. Rather than just seeing a software tool or seeing a CAD product, I'm actively thinking about, okay, what would be the audience who would actually buy something like this? What would be the business plan? How would I go to market to this day if I were to take this product right then and now? So even if students don't go into entrepreneurship, I feel like it'd be a very, very valuable tool to at least learn and try to understand. Because after all, with every single job you take, you're pretty much trying to sell something. So just getting that mindset would be pretty fruitful.
So having an entrepreneurial mindset and weaving it through the curriculum. I
Absolutely.
noted that, and I think that's amazing. And I will say we have started to do this journey for
Mhm.
our grad and undergrad students. So thank you for that. And I have to say, you are an inspiration to current students at Ohio State and beyond. Keep up the amazing work and keep tapping into the amazing networks of alumni and faculty we have here.
I certainly will do. Thank you.
And now we have the pleasure of meeting another Ohio State Innovator of the Year, Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering Associate Professor Eduardo Reátegui. He was named Early Career Innovator of the Year last April. If you're keeping score at home, that means all three of the 2025 Innovator of the Year honorees were Buckeye engineers. Since the Winter Olympics are approaching, I'll drop a hockey analogy and call that an awesome hat trick. Eduardo, thanks for joining me on Ingenuity.
Thank you so much for having me, Dean Howard. It's an honor to be here, and I love the hat trick analogy that you make. I'm truly grateful for this recognition, and I'm excited to share a little bit about our research.
Good, good. So, I think we're going to go into the research. So, most of us have heard about biomarkers in our blood and other bodily fluids or tissues, and that they improve clinicians' ability to diagnose, monitor, or predict disease risk. Your lab is focused on a multifaceted approach to characterizing biomarkers. So, let our audience know a little bit more about your work.
Yes, absolutely. My lab here at Ohio State basically focus on developing micro and nanoscale technologies that make it possible detect and analyze these biomarkers present in different types of biofluids. A core part of our research basically focus on the analysis of extracellular vesicles, also known as EVs. But in this case, we are not talking about the electrical vehicles. In this case, we are talking about very tiny particles that all cells release. And when they do that, basically, they carry certain information of those cells. And now, if we are talking about a disease cell, these tiny particles actually carry these biomarkers that actually we use to analyze for, disease diagnostics, monitoring, response to treatment. And on top of that, we also not focus only on extracellular vesicles. We also focus on virus particles based on the similarities that they share. So basically, what we are doing is double down in terms of the application of the technology that we are developing, not only, for example, for cancer detection, but also we can do disease monitoring, even infectious diseases. And then our approach basically has two main pillars. One is what we call precise capture, in which basically we use these technologies to separate these EVs or virus particles that we are interested in doing the analysis. We have recently, for example, developed technology in which we don't need any type of molecule on the surface to analyze them. Basically, we can just do it based on biophysical properties. And then the other important part that we do is what we call high content analysis. So our lab, for example, has the ability to analyze individually these particles individually and actually then analyze their cargo. For example, what proteins they have in the surface, what nucleic acids they have inside. And with that, basically, we can have a very robust way how to diagnostic diseases, for example, cancer, infectious diseases, or even monitoring the disease.
So, so if you think about the impact, even though you're working at the nanoscale of particles, you must have a huge impact on the world because you, of course, were recognized as the Ohio State Innovator of the Year, which means that you must have an interest in commercialization. So can you talk to me a little bit about what's happening on that front? Patents, startup companies, licensing in the works?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a very spirit in terms of innovation in my lab, and that's what, we share this with all our team members. For each one, for example, of the different technologies that we have developed over the last 8 or 9 years here, we have constantly releasing as provisional patent applications, working closely with the Office of Technology and Commercialization. Working with them, we are also in the effort of licensing these technologies. For example, we have make agreements with two different companies, which one of them, for example, we also have, we're conducting, for example, currently sponsor research to use this platform for the discovery of biomarkers for neuroimmunology diseases.
So if you think about you mentioned the commercialization office. So as an engineering innovator, what other things do you think are an advantage from working at Ohio State?
Yes, I think Ohio State gives us what I call it the scale, proximity, and infrastructure to move it quickly from an idea that we can have directly to impact to a translational application. Because, for example, here in a single week, we can interact with other engineers, with clinicians, biologists, data scientists, without leaving campus. And usually these big efforts, these complex problems really require a combination of expertise. And here at Ohio State, we are really glad that we have access to that. The other important part, for example, in terms of our research is the access to clinical samples, to access to the medical center, because as a translational technology development lab, at some point we need to validate this technology, and having access to that type of resources with coordination with different clinicians, for example, if we are working about cancer, if we are working about infectious diseases, it's actually a huge advantage for us, because it really allowed us to make the necessary corrections in our prototypes and move quickly in terms of this commercialization and translational efforts.
So the scale here at Ohio State is basically an advantage, I would say the secret sauce of some of your success.
Yes, another important part too also is the access to these very sophisticated world-class facilities like electron microscopy, fluorescent microscopy, that really cutting edge, that really allowed us to develop these unique innovation tools that we have come out over the last few years.
Wonderful. So, I know there's going to be a lot of listeners who might envision themselves maybe commercializing their research, their gadgets. So for your fellow faculty members who haven't yet considered commercializing their research, any advice you can share with them?
Yes, absolutely. From my personal experience, what I like to do is, for example, one key point for me is start the conversation early. So we have an idea, we have the different expertise here, share your idea such that, you can see, if this is something that the field needs, for example, in terms of medicine, or it's something that, it can be refined. Then the other important thing is obviously protect your IP from public disclosure. Before you go outside, try to make sure that everything that your idea, especially if it's an interesting idea, an important idea, it has to be protected. We have the advantage here that we have a very active Office of Commercialization and Technology Development that, for example, they are always very helpful to guide you over the whole process, since disclosing an idea to provisional patent application to a full disclosure patent application. And the other interesting thing too also is when we have an idea for a technology, it's always interesting to discuss this with the end user, what the end user thinks about that, because that will give us also a very unique perspective in terms of how this actually really gonna be improved or cover a necessity in my case, for example, in the medical field. And then lastly, what we like to do is also plan beyond the prototype, right? So for example, develop your technology in a robust way, in a way such that, it can be easily scalable, easily reproducible, such that, we don't have any, translation, any inconvenience during this process of translation.
So customer discovery, commercialization, thinking about the end user. I mean, great insights. I want to say thank you, Eduardo. You make us proud. So keep pushing the envelope and pursuing solutions to these healthcare challenges, whether it's in cancer or other disease vectors. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Dean Howard. I'm grateful for the support and the extraordinary community here at Ohio State. As I like to say, innovation is a team sport, and I'm very excited for the future.
Thanks for listening. Stay up to date on all the amazing innovation and groundbreaking research happening here at Ohio State Engineering by connecting with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and X.